Hey, what's up, guys? Okay, so this month's chapter of Attack on Titan kind of hit home the fact that we probably have like a year left. Like Attack on Titan's in its final arc, it's in its final stretch. We probably will end the series by the end of 2019. And this chapter really hit home with the way the pace was moving and like how everything kind of like pushed forward in the chapter. Yeah, the fact that the series is almost over is very evident after this month's chapter. It's kind of hard to say if I'm excited about the fact that the series is going to be ending soon and, excited to see exactly how it ends, or if I'm scared to see where the series is going to go from here because of the fact that, like, it's been almost 10 years now since Attack on Titan started. I mean, I've only been reading it, I started reading it about, like, chapter 14 or 15 in, so a little over a year after the series started, but the fact that the series is almost over is kind of scary, especially when you think about the fact that where the chapter ends and the fact that a lot of characters that we love, like Sasha, died already, and a lot of characters that we love that are still alive right now might not make it to the end. And the fact that we've had like such a shift and change in a lot of the characters, it's just it's scary to think like going back and thinking back to how the series started to where we're at now. It's scary to even think about how it's going to end. Anyway, the chapter picks up where the last one left off with basically everyone questioning the chef. I believe his name was Nikolai or Nicolo, something like that. He basically comes out and says, "Yeah, I don't really have any proof, but after I started working here, they brought in this wine, and they said serve this to the military higher ups. Like make sure everyone in military higher ups drinks this wine. And I don't really have any proof about the fact, but I'm about like 99% sure Zeke's spinal fluid is inside there. And when everyone starts to question, like, oh, I mean, I believe Kanye's actually the one who brings it up. Well, when people ingest Zeke's spinal fluid, aren't they supposed to basically like go brain dead? And we actually seen examples of that, like especially in the beginning of this 4 year time skip arc, when we actually saw like the Marlos invading that one country, and we saw them drop a whole bunch of Titans onto the country as like backup defense. We saw that basically every time they dropped in was actually brain dead before they turned into their Titan form. But Nicolo, or I believe it was Nicolo, actually brings up, yeah, but did you actually see that happen? Did you actually see an example like when the people were turning the Titans on this country, on this continent? Did you actually see them before they get turned into Titans? Were they brain dead? Did you actually see with your own eyes? Because I didn't, you didn't, so we have no confirmation of whether or not they actually do kind of go brain dead before they turn into Titans, or if they can just people walk around as like regular people. And that the second they realize that, Hanji starts freaking out or starts like realizing, holy shit, if we ever like Zeke told us that we would go brain dead before. If sorry, Zeke told us that people who ingest spinal fluid go kind of brain dead. But if he lied to us about that, and we had a preconceived like idea that if you drink the spinal fluid you go brain dead, that's a clear sign that you've been poisoned by the spinal fluid. If we don't show that symptom, then we're fine. But if it's a lie, if that's not actually the case, if you don't go brain dead from drinking spinal fluid, then any one of us could have been turned without us knowing, and we would have no idea. Like seriously, this chapter, in fact, no, this entire like arc ever since we got back to Paris Island after the Marley invasion, has done nothing but an amazing job of basically showing off just how much of an evil genius Zeke actually is on the low. I mean, even when we get to the end of the chapter, which by the way I'm just gonna talk about right now because that's actually not even the most important, the most like crucial part of the chapter. So we get to the end of the chapter, we get to the very end, and we see basically Levy's getting a rundown from his subordinates about what's going on, about the fact that Aaron's his group is kind of taking over the city or taking over the walls, and basically picks up kind of like folding and letting basically trying to work with Aaron, and was going to actually reveal the location of Zeke to Aaron and his people so they can actually kind of come to a compromise. And Levy basically says, "Yeah, fuck that. We're gonna have our own plan. Fuck, Pixup's gonna be angry with us, but he'll get over it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna instead of letting Aaron be eaten by a Titan, because obviously he thinks that Pixup's still planning to feed Aaron to a different Titan shifter. Instead of doing that, we're just gonna kill Zeke. We're just gonna cut off his legs and arms so he can't do anything, and then we're gonna feed him to a Titan shifter, have that person take over the Ape Titan, and then once that person or once Historia gives birth to her child, regardless of how she feels afterwards, we'll just force feed her. We'll just force her to eat the person that eats Zeke. So yeah, we'll be done with this because fuck this guy. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be part of this bullshit anymore. It's basically what it's come down to for Levy. And we get this kind of like inner monologue from Levi real quick, where it basically shows that everything he's done and everything he's about to do is kind of like to keep the promise to Commander Irwin that he made before he died, which will actually go into something that we found out earlier on in the chapter before we get to the scene. But we'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, after he comes up with the plan, he goes over to talk to Zeke real quick, just basically like, keep up the farce. The two of them are kind of on good terms. The two of them talk for very briefly. Levi starts to walk away, and then when he looks back, Zeke is running it. Like, Zeke is hightailing it out of there. And as soon as Zeke gets like a little far away, like a little distance away, he yells. And we see it start raining Titans. Literally every single person, every single subordinate that was working with Levi turns into a Titan and starts raining down from the trees that they were watching Zeke from. And Levi's just completely surrounded by mindless, hungry Titans now. And the scene's kind of, I guess I want to say, ironic to something that happened a few panels beforehand when Levi was basically getting a rundown about what's going on with Aaron. He basically has to talk to himself, really? He's doing all this bullshit after I basically sacrificed all the subordinates I had, all the people I cared about. I let them die in order to help protect him. And now he's basically the villain. Fuck that. Only for it to turn around and basically have all his new subordinates be turned into Titans and basically be killed off because he's going to have to kill them because of the fact that Aaron and Zeke are working against him. So yeah, it's kind of poetic justice, or not poetic justice, kind of ironic, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. But anyway, that's where the chapter ends. Now, back to the beginning of the chapter, we go back to the restaurant where we basically see everyone had kind of like split off from each other. Basically, Jean, Hanji, Connie, and them were kind of washing Falco's body, kind of like trying to get the poison, or trying to get the spinal fluid or the wine off of him and off of themselves as well. And just as they were setting, I forget what the one volunteer, the black volunteer, has kind of been buddy with Hanji this whole time. I forget what his name is, but basically she sends him to go tell Armin and Mikasa what was going on because they went off in a different room with Gabby. Just as he was going off to do that, he got attacked by Fulch and the rest of the fucking Jaegerites, the people who were basically following Zeke and Aaron at this point. So yeah, he gets stopped by them. They go in there and they basically capture Hanji and all. They basically just go in there like, hey, tell us where Zeke is. They refuse to. And then they're like, all right, well, you're under arrest. We're just going to take you with us. And because we don't want to work with you. We got Pix's message. Fuck that. We don't want to work with you guys. And you're just going to be held captive until you tell us where Zeke is being held. And then remember that conversation that Mikasa and Armin wanted to have with Aaron while he was in jail, but they were told they couldn't have it by Exactly? Yeah, well, they get to have it in this chapter because Aaron walks into the room that they're in with Gabby, has his hand cut showing, hey, you do anything, I'm going to turn into a Titan and kill all of you. So he basically forces them to sit down at a table. The three of them, but Gabby doesn't really say anything in this chapter. The three of them start talking, and it just goes to show how much of a evil fucking bastard Aaron has become. Okay, so the gist of the conversation is that basically Aaron wants the same thing that we saw Floch asking Hanji and Jean for. He wants to know the location of Zeke. They don't want to tell him. And then when it gets down to like the real heated part of the conversation, when we get Mikasa and Armin trying to basically understand what's going on with Aaron, trying to figure out what's going on with their best friend, someone that they grew up with, someone that they see as like a brother. Mikasa is someone she was in love with. It basically comes down to Aaron just completely trashing them, completely just throwing them under the bus, like completely berating the two of them. Alright, so starting with Armin, he basically goes over to Armin and says, hey, listen, you used to be someone I trusted. Then you became the Colossal Titan. And from what we've learned, memories are basically something that gets passed between Time Shifter to Time Shifter. And memories also make up a person and basically form their decisions in life. So the fact that you ate Burntold, someone who was in love with Annie, and the fact that you are now secretly visiting Annie without anyone knowing, yeah, it kind of makes me think that maybe Burntold's more alive inside you than the original Armin, because now that ever since you ate him, you've been making decisions that you normally wouldn't make. You've been more emotional than, logical. So I don't trust you anymore. You're nothing to me now. So you can go fuck yourself. Then he gets to Mikasa, and honestly, this was the hardest, most brutal conversation I've ever seen between two characters who used to be such close friends. So we get basically Mikasa trying to say Aaron, like, she tries to plead to his good side, like tries to bring up the fact that, hey, remember back when we were kids when we first met and you saved my life? And I basically devoted my life to protecting you after that because you gave me a reason to live. Eren says, yeah, see about that? I found out something about the Ackermans, about your bloodline. Which, by the way, keep in mind, Levi is also an Ackerman. So, I found out something about your bloodline. You see, what we end up finding out is that back in the day when the people in Marley were still trying to figure out exactly how to control Titans, they found a way to basically turn people Ymir into Titans, but at the same time keeping their human form, which is basically what you Ackermans are. You are basically human Titans. You are capable of releasing 100% of your human capabilities, which is the reason why you're such great fighters and such and whatnot. And because of that, because of those experiments, once those abilities activate, like once you actually activate those abilities and kind of go from being a regular human to this like humanized Titan, you basically imprint on one single person. You find a master and you imprint on that person, and your main goal in life becomes protecting that one person. Which he basically explains is the reason why Mikasa is so devoted to Eren, the reason why she's so connected to him, the reason why she will do anything to protect him. Because of the fact that he's the one that she imprinted on. He basically says that back when they were like 9 years old, and he saved her from being attacked by those bandits, and she in turn saved him. That was when the real Mikasa died, and this human Titan took her place, and she has not been the same ever since. She's basically not human anymore. He basically berates her and basically like just destroys her self-worth in this chapter. And when Armin gets pissed off about it and goes to punch Eren, we see Mikasa instinctively, despite the fact that she's breaking, like she's having a complete mental breakdown and crying, she grabs Armin and pins him on the table for a second, basically proving Eren's point. And then after she realizes what she's doing, she lets him go. Armin gets back up to punch him, and then we cut away for a second. We cut back to when Fulch and them are coming to the room, and we see the fact that Eren is kind of just beating the shit out of Armin. He basically like has Armin on the ropes. Armin goes for one last final punch, and Eren knocks him out, like completely destroys him. Man, I gotta say, as exciting as the chapter was, it was such a hard thing to read because you knew at some point there had to be a confrontation between Armin, Eren, and Mikasa. You knew that at some point the three of them had to sit down and actually have a final confrontation that basically shows whose side everyone's on. Now, we don't exactly know whose side Mikasa's on by the end of the chapter because we don't know if she's going to basically try to fight off her imprinting, the fact that she is devoted to Eren, try to fight that off, or if she's just going to give into it. We don't know because she kind of had like a mental breakdown at this point. But we basically know at this point Armin and Eren are on different sides, and it's kind of hard to see like two characters who you for 90 plus chapters you saw growing up as being like best friends. So like we literally my series, like my career of reviewing the series started with the chapter where Eren was willing to betray everyone to save Armin, his best friend's life. And now we got to the point where the two of them hate each other. Well, not really hate each other, but they're at the odds with each other. That they're fighting on opposite sides of the war. It's just such a hard thing to read. Like, I know a lot of people probably try to compare this to like Naruto and Sasuke or Vegeta and Goku during that brief stint during the Blue Arc when the two of them were at odds with each other. But still, this is on a whole different level than those two. Because we didn't get to see Vegeta and Naruto actually. I mean, we didn't get to see Sasuke and Naruto actually be like buddy best friends for their entire lives. We got a brief instance of that while they were growing up after they became a team. We didn't really get to see that much of Vegeta and Goku being kind of like buddy before they had that fight during the Blue Arc. We literally seen the entire series though of Armin and Eren being best friends who would be willing to sacrifice everything for each other. The fact that we see the two of them at odds with each other now is just such a heartbreaking thing to see. But yeah, it's pretty much all that happened in the chapter. I mean, we got Armin, Mikasa, Hanji, pretty much all the main Survey Corps members that we follow being captured by Eren and his group. We got Zeke basically leaving Levi to die so he can go meet up with Eren. We don't exactly know what's going to happen with Historia. She's still a wild card in this whole situation. We don't know if she's going to be seeked out by Zeke and them because of her royal blood, or she's going to be left alone. I hope she'll be left alone because of the fact that Eren, he kind of started down this path on the idea that he wanted to protect Historia from being basically manipulated and be turned into a time shifter. So, who knows? Maybe he'll keep her out of this. And then we also have the fact that the Marley invasion is going to start anytime now. Like, literally, we already know because we saw the Cartine. I think her name's like Pika, something like that. We already saw the fact that she's on Paradise Island. So, the invasion is going to start anytime. And I guess it's basically going to come down to whose side is Zeke and Eren on? I mean, is it just that Zeke is manipulating Eren at this point? and he's actually working with Marley as like a sleeper agent kind of, and only really the real higher ups know, because as we saw in a few chapters ago when we saw the fact that they were planning the invasion, the basically the time shifters there don't know, and apparently the military higher ups that were working with the time shifters don't know what Zeke's doing. So we don't know if he's actually working with Marley at this point, if he's actually on his own side. Basically, it's come down to like either a two-way or a three-way war between Paris Island, Zeke and Aaron, and Marley. And I'm honestly excited to see where this goes. But that's it for the chapter. That's it for the review. Thanks for watching. Like I said, we are in the final stretch of Attack on Titan. Like probably by the end of 2019. By this time, by December of 2019, I predicted the series will probably be over, which means we got like another 12 chapters left. So yeah, the series is almost done. Can't wait to see how it ends. But that's it for the video. That's it for the review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.